Nedarim Daf Mem Gimel comments on our last Mishnah about the Isser to borrow an object or money, or lend an object or money, or buy or sell to someone with whom you have an Isser Hana. The Gemara will want to know why. Then the Gemara will introduce our next Mishnah, which discusses possible solutions to circumvent an Isser Hana, to be able to do something for someone even though he's also to have Hana from you. This will take us to the concept of Hefker. We'll have a Machoga, so you're allowed to be Mafker something to someone who has an Isser Hana, and we'll get into the Sugya of Hefker, which will take us to a few daf to the end of the parak discussing how Hefker works and how it affects Meiser. So let's begin. The Gemara has just seen a Mishnah. We've quoted our most recent Mishnah, which said that if somebody's also to have enough from you, you're not allowed to borrow or lend money or objects to or from him, and you're also not allowed to buy from him or sell to him. So the Gemara says, I understand why you can't lend money or objects to him, because he's not allowed to have enough from you, but why shouldn't you be able to borrow from him? Why shouldn't you be able to borrow money? So the Gemara says, and if I understand why you can't borrow money, why can't you borrow an object? And why can't you buy or sell an object? And if I understand why you can't buy or sell, why you can't buy an object, why are you not allowed to borrow an object from him? So the Rishonim explain, if I understand why you're not allowed to borrow money from him, the reason you might not be able to borrow money from him, even though he's not getting enough from lending it to you, is because when you return money to him, you might return money in better condition. Buying an object from him could be you're doing him a favor if it's things which are hard for him to get rid of. Selling also could be you're doing a favor for him if it's something that he's very hard to find. However, borrowing an object from him, there's no way you're going to improve the object. It's going to come back in worse condition. Why should there be any Yisr there? So the Gemara offers two answers. The Gemara's first answer is we're talking about where both parties have an Yisr on each other. Abai says it's Xera. If we allow you to borrow from him, you also may end up lending to him, and that would violate the Yisr. Now we get to our next Mishnah, a lengthy Mishnah discussing what can you do if someone is also to have enough from you and you want to really give him enough. Is there any way around it? So the Gemara discusses a story. The Mishnah discusses where someone asked to borrow a cow in order to plow his field. The guy said, my cow's not available, it's too busy working. So the guy said, in an anger, he said, I make an neder, I'm never going to use your cow to plow my field. Then he regretted it, he wanted to use the cow to plow the field. The question is, what can he do? Is there a way that you can give him your cow and he can plow the field? So the Gemara says, if he usually plows himself, then you assume that when he said, I'm not going to use the cow to plow the field, he meant me, myself, because that's how he usually plows. Therefore, he's allowed to have somebody else. So he could hire somebody else to plow his field for him and then borrow your cow to plow the field. That would be okay, because it wasn't included in the neder when he said, I'm not going to plow my field. If, however, he usually has somebody else do it, then when he said, I'm not going to borrow your cow to plow my field, your cow's not going to plow my field, he meant in any other way that he normally would do it, and he included having someone else do it for him, and therefore he wouldn't be allowed to have somebody else do it for him. Now, the Mishnah discusses what happens if the guy needs money. He's not allowed to have enough from you, but you want to help him out financially. So you go to the storekeeper that he usually uses. You cannot make him a shtech to give money to him, but you could say, in a hinting kind of way, look, this person, I want to help him out. He doesn't have money, doesn't have what to eat, but he's not allowed to have enough from me, so I'm just going to pay his bill. So whatever he needs, he'll take from you, and I'm going to pay the bill. And therefore, you're giving money to the store owner, and he's not getting direct enough from you. He's getting the food from the store owner. Now, if he needs work, he needs his fence around his field rebuilt or his house rebuilt, he can go to the workers he usually hires and say, I'm going to pay the bill for that as well. Now, what if the two of you are traveling and he needs food from you? So you could give it to a different person as a gift, and then that person is allowed to give it to the other person because the hana is coming from him. If there's no other person, then you can put it down on the rock or on the fence. Now, are you allowed to do this? So the Rabbanan say you're allowed to put it down on the rock and the fence and be mafgard, and that person could be kona'id. And Rabbi Yossi says you're not allowed to. Let's begin the Gemara. The Gemara wants to know, what is this machlokes about? Why would Rabbi Yossi say you're not allowed to do that? Why can't you be mafgard? So the Gemara first introduces Rav Yochanan's pshat. Rav Yochanan says that Rav Yossi says the way hefker works is that it stays in the shus of the mafgir until somebody else is kona'id. When you're mafgir something, it's still yours. There's no such thing as getting rid of possession. You cannot divest yourself of ownership. You can make it available for somebody else to take ownership. Until somebody else will do that, though, it's still yours. And therefore, when that person comes and is kona'id, if the person is kona'id is also to have enough from you, it's a violation because he's still getting enough from you. It's yours up until the moment that he picks it up. And that's why it is usher. Now, the Gemara has a kasha on that because we have a different version of this discussion of Yossi, and the Rabbana, which spells it out more clearly. The Gemara brings it. The Brisa says that Rav Yossi says that the only time when you're allowed to, there is a time when you're allowed to be mafkir something to someone else, and that's if you're mafkir before the neder is made. If you're mafkir before the neder is made, that person's allowed to be kona it from you, even though he's also to have enough from you. If, however, you made the hefker after you made the neder, then you're clearly being mafkir it to him. That's forbidden. So the Gemara says, if the reason is that it's in your rishus up until the time he's kona, what difference does it make that you were mafkir before you made the neder? Either way, he's getting it straight from your possession, and he's having enough from you. So the Gemara wants to answer that. It could be the answer is that when he made an Isser Hana on his possessions, he didn't mean something. This would be you in this case. If you made the Isser Hana, you didn't mean to answer something that you were mafkir already. You didn't have in mind, even though it's still in your rishus. But you don't mentally have in mind that it applies to something that you were mafkir. You mentally consider it not part of your property anymore, and therefore the Isser Hana doesn't apply to that. That would be a potential answer. But either way, the Gemara has another kasha. Rava asks, we have a case where somebody writes away his possessions to two people. So the first person, he writes most of his possessions, and the second person, he writes the rest of his possessions. So the rule is, anytime you don't leave anything over for yourself, it's not chal. We assume you didn't mean it. Now the first person, though, the Mishnah says it is chal, because you gave him all your possessions and you left some over. You still had some, because that's what you gave to the second person. However, what you gave to the second person is not chal, because at that time you didn't leave anything for yourself. So Gemara's kasha now is, hold on a second. If at the time I gave to the second person, the first person wasn't zocha yet, so then when I gave it to the second person, it wasn't all the possessions. I only gave the second person a percentage, and what I had already said I was going to give the first person still belongs to me. So the second person, what I gave to him, still leaves over something in my rishus. That should be chal. So obviously, you see, it's not correct to say that when you're mafkir something to somebody, you still retain possession of it until he's kona it, because here clearly at the time that you are giving it over to the second person, what you gave to the first person was already not yours. So therefore the Gemara rejects this pshat, and the Gemara says it's not pshat in Rav Yosi. Pshat in Rav Yosi is a gzeira, that it makes it that it could be potentially clear that it's a game and you're trying to give it to that person, and therefore the Rabbanan answered it. And the Gemara later in the Daf Ches will bring the story of Matnas Beis Choron, or someone was trying to give a property over to his father, even though there was an Isser Hana on the father to have any Hana from him, and he was mafkir and somebody else wanted to be kona it, and he said, no, you can't, there's only mafkir for my father. That was clearly not a real hefker, but because we're afraid of such a circumstance happening, and therefore it's really a violation, we said you can't do this whole hefker business. It's not going to work at all.